Greetings and welcome back to Eye of the Beholder. I'm rested and ready after a week's vacation in Miami, so let's pick back up on our reviews of 20 years of Dungeons & Dragons miniatures from 2003 to 2023. After reviewing the Golems and Warforged in our last two videos, we're going to start with the rest of the constructs from A through G, and here we go. The Amber Monolith is a construct from the House of Lament adventures set in the Ravenloft domain. As always, I don't want to give any spoilers for anyone interested in playing, but one look at this pick should give you an idea of what it can do. Naturally enough, we get our one and only Amber Monolith miniature in 2022's Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft set. The orangish, somewhat conical translucent body is nicely surrounded by the inky black tendrils reaching out toward its prey, with one reaching well beyond the base. Playability-wise, I can see using this mini outside of the Ravenclaw setting, so the score is Paint 16, Pose 15, Playability 13, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 62. Animated armor is a subset of animated objects and are created much the same way. Generally used as guardians, they can remain motionless for an unlimited period of times until activated by whatever trigger its creator has added. You cannot negotiate with it, but it can speak in a hollow whisper, stating its purpose or, more often, reciting a warning. We get our only animated armor mini in 2020's Fangs and Talons set. Paint is what you'd expect, mostly silver with black areas in the visor, back of elbows, the knees, and waist. Pose shows the armor has been activated as it strides forward toward the interlopers, fists clenched. By the way, there's some really nice detailing on the armor, especially for a common. Commonality equals playability here, so score is Paint 14, Pose 18, Playability 18, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 65. Dreadguards from 2002's Monster Manual 2 are basically really cool animated armor. This mini from 2004's Archfiend set is our only Dreadguard mini available. Nice paint palette on this one, black armor, red cloak, and silver for the sword and chainmail. Pose to me looks like it's still in guard mode, waiting to be triggered by the unwary. Nice detail of the skull and the shield. If you look closely, there are two more skulls on the armor as well. Score: Paint 17, Pose 15, Playability 18, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 69. The Helmed Horror is the most powerful type of animated armor. First appearing in 2001's Monster Compendium, Monsters of Faerun, they are usually created by evil wizards or clerics. Helmed Horrors have some intelligence and fight as such. Generally armed with crossbows and magical flaming swords, they are a difficult foe for a mid-level party. Oh yeah, they fly too. We get our first Helmed Horror in 2005's Underdark set. Other than the bright orange flaming sword, no real color here, just a monochrome gray. Detailing is okay, but nothing to write home about. If you look closely, you can see a crossbow slung over its back. Pose has it in fight mode, two hands gripping the flaming sword, about to strike at a foe. Score: Paint 14, Pose 13, Playability 18, Pizzazz 21, for a score of 71. 10 years later, WizKids gives us their version of the Helmed Horror in 2015's Rage of Demons set. Brighter than the WotC version, with armor of silver and gold offset with a gray shield. Detailing is better as well, and the pose, legs set wide apart for balance, sword to the front and shield up, is solid as well. But I don't know. I like the WotC version better. With the flaming two-handed sword, creature correct crossbow, it just seems more, well, Helm Horror-ish. Score: Paint 16, Pose 13, Playability 18, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 60. Animated objects are exactly that. Mundane objects that have been animated by magic, usually via the animate object spell. Pretty much anything can be animated, from knickknacks to furniture, and usually more useful, weapons and, as we've already talked about, armor. Well, this is just silly. From 2018's Waterdeep Dragon Heist set, we get an animated door? I've never played a Waterdeep setting, so maybe it's useful there, but otherwise, really? If you can make use of this mini, you're a better DM than I am. Paint. Gray for the arch, brown for the door with black banding and handle. Pose has it in flight via a transparent stand. I don't know. Score. Paint 14, Pose 11, Playability 3, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 43. We get this Flying Sword mini a year later in 2019's Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage set. Exponentially more playable than the previous mini, paint is a simple monochrome silver. Pose is what it is, depicting the sword in mid-flight/attack via the use of a transparent stand, which is curved to give the illusion of the sword dancing through the air. Score. Paint 12, Pose 14, Playability 15, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 55. I'm going to review these two minis together, as they are both named NPCs from 2021's The Wild Beyond the Witchlight set. Meet Pincushion and Squirt, Animated Doll and Oil Can, respectively. Pincushion, in her green dress and red hair, appears to be pointing something out, while Squirt floats around on his transparent stand with a bemused look. I haven't played this adventure, but I assume they are important, so playability rating is based on playing in the Witchlight setting. Score for Pincushion, Paint 14, Pose 12, Playability 15, Pizzazz 11, for a 52. For Squirt, Paint 10, Pose 13, Playability 15, Pizzazz 10, for a score of 48. Astral constructs are generally short-term creations from scions. They exist for a limited amount of time, generally lasting until a specific task has been completed. Milky white and semi-translucent, they can range in size from tiny to huge, and their powers are only limited by the scion who created them. We get our first, this medium astral construct, in 2004's Giants of Legend set. Not a lot to comment here. Milky white as it should be, with a fairly standard pose that seems to be either reacting to another, or perhaps it's in scout mode, hard to tell. If you have a psionic PC, or run into an NPC one, these minis are useful to have, otherwise not so much. Score. Paint 11, Pose 13, Playability 8, Pizzazz 9, for a score of 41. Three years later, we get this large astral construct in 2007's Unhallowed set. It's the same milky white as its predecessor, but this one was obviously constructed for battle, with a trident for a left hand and a maul for its right. This guy is ready to administer a beatdown. Pose reflects this, aggressively leaning forward, almost down on one knee, prepared to deliver a crushing blow with its maul. Playability has the same drawbacks as the previous mini, so the score is Paint 11, Pose 18, Playability 10, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 53. Psychic Sentinels are another psionically created guardian, far more intelligent than the Astral construct. Also, unlike the Astrals, once created, a Psychic Sentinel is permanent until destroyed. Not an easy feat, as they are strong, smart, and durable. We get our one and only Psychic Sentinel in 2009's Monster Manual Dangerous Delve set. It has the same sharp, crystalline body of the large astral construct, but blood red and translucent. Pose has it striding confidently toward its foes, fist balled and yellowish eyes locked on the target. Based on its rarity and general anonymity, I couldn't even find a usable pic of one. Playability is low, but again, a great surprise to spring on that player who knows the books inside and out. Score: Paint 14, Pose 17, Playability 9, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 53. If you ever saw the original Clash of the Titans from the early 80s, you remember the mechanical owl Bobo given to Perseus by the goddess Athena. Obviously inspired by Bobo, the anvil-wrought raptor first appeared in 2014's Mythic Odyssey of Theros adventure. Often used as a familiar by mages, its keen senses allow the mage to see what it sees from up to a mile away. Naturally, this anvil-wrought raptor comes from the 2020's Mythic Odyssey of Theros set. The transparent stand allows the mini to be captured in mid-flight, with wings fully extended as if gliding. There is some nice detailing on the body and wings as well, and the head is perfectly creature correct. Paint is what it is, so score: Paint 12, Pose 15, Playability 16, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 59. Cadaver collectors' unusual constructs originally from the plane of Acheron. Originally appearing in 2004's Monster Manual 3, they are generally found in the aftermath of battle, collecting cadavers, for use by powerful necromancers, liches, or outsiders. Despite their appearance, they will generally ignore the living unless they are attacked or malfunctioning. Their method of attack is simple: pick up the attacker and impale it on any of the many spikes protruding from its body. We get our first cadaver collector in 2006's War of the Dragon Queen set. Mostly gunmetal gray with some brown and black areas, this mini has a massive feel to it. Posed as if marching across the battlefield, arms lower to pick up the corpses it finds, one already impaled on its back. There's some excellent detailing on this mini. Particularly note the helmeted skull on its right forearm and the severed arm on its back next to the corpse. It's good stuff. Score: Paint 14, Pose 20, Playability 18, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 75. We get the WizKids version of the Cadaver Collector 16 years later in the Eberron Rising from the Last War set, which makes sense as they are found in that setting. Not as physically imposing as the previous mini, it makes up for that with great detailing of the bodies impaled upon it. We see a dwarf, an orc, and a human on its back. Also, nice touch of the axe lodged in the back as well. And yes, it is supposed to be leaning that far forward on its base. Tough choice on which mini I would use. I like the table presence of the WotC version, but this one's amazing details are pretty good too. Score: Paint 17, Pose 19, Playability 18, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 77. Chardolin dragons are very rare constructs, as chardolin is a rare and difficult mineral to acquire. Unlike most constructs, chardolin dragons are aggressively evil, relishing in the suffering of others. It has all the attributes of both dragons and constructs, so these guys are almost impossible to kill. This is definitely the creature to use as a final battle for a high-level party. It will result in either a glorious story to tell around the campfire for years to come, or a TPK. Holy snickerdoodle, Batman! This miniature is absolutely massive, even larger than the Neothelid Mini reviewed earlier, and only outsized by the colossal red dragon. A special release tied to 2020's Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden set, it absolutely dominates the battle map. Chardolin gray with alternating areas of yellow along the spine as well as the eyes, this mini is posed as a prelude to battle, low to the ground, eyes focused forward, tail with an impressive spear-like tip swept forward. Normally not too playable outside of Icewind Dale, but it's simply too cool not to, so I'll get around that. Score, if you have to ask, 100. After all that, this Chardelin pseudo-dragon from 2021's Snowbound set seems a bit of a letdown. However, it's a solid mini in its own right, which can also double as a Silver Dragon Wormling in a pinch. Monochrome silver in color and in the standard dragon pose, but having it posed on top of an open spell book is a really cool touch. What a cute little evil dragon. Score: Paint 13, Pose 18, Playability 15, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 60. Asterian drones are ancient constructs from when the world of Krynn was young. Found in the Dragonlance adventures, they are capable of climbing walls like a spider, can attack with both claws at once, and have a breath weapon to boot. Most notable, in my opinion, was how hard it was to get one. I ended up paying $18 for this mini on eBay, one that I'll probably never use. Well, here it is in all its glory. From 2023's Dragonlance War of the Dragon Queen set, honestly, it's actually a pretty cool mini, with a pose suggesting battle, with both claws raised high as if about to strike. WizKids makes nice use of a transparent stand at the back of the mini to allow it to stand tall and solid on its base, despite the delicacy of its four legs. Colors are varied and well used: black and white for the body, gold and silver for the appendages, and a single red eye set in the head. Score: Paint 18, Pose 19, Playability 7, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 64. The Slaughterstone Eviscerator first appeared in 2004's Monster Manual 3. Like the Cadaver Collector, they are usually found on the battlefield, but in a much more active manner. Armed with 4 razor-sharp adamantine blades, these constructs are an absolute nightmare in battle, scoring a critical hit on a 19 or 20, and able to deliver a whirlwind attack on all targets within 10 feet, dealing a massive amount of damage to all. We get our one and only Slaughterstone Eviscerator in 2006's War of the Dragon Queen set. Dull gray body and slightly brighter gray blades is it for the colors, so let's talk about the pose. Shown striding into battle with its blades raised high, this construct is about to lay waste to all foes. There's a nice detailed touch on the circular joints. Note that several have a mustachioed face in bas relief, perhaps that of its creator. Score: Paint 13, Pose 15, Playability 15, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 63. Metallic Peacekeepers are guardian constructs created by metallic dragons to watch over lesser beings that the benevolent dragons care about. These futuristic-looking constructs can attack, but prefer to subdue their foes. They can even release a soothing mist that helps calm opponents. We get our only metallic Peacekeeper mini in 2022's Fizben's Treasury of Dragons set. It looks exactly like it's supposed to. Metallic body with translucent blue areas at the neck, head, and nether regions. Although it appears delicate, the mini is actually solidly set upon its base with a pose that, while somewhat boring, is what you'd expect from it. Score: Paint 15, Pose 14, Playability 10, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 51. Our final Guardian construct is the Shield Guardian. First appearing in the 3.5 edition Monster Manual, these constructs are the ultimate bodyguards, moving with great speed to protect their charge. Interesting point, each Shield Guardian is keyed to a specific amulet. If you can gain control of that amulet without killing its owner, you are now the proud owner of your very own Shield Guardian. We get our first Shield Guardian in 2007's Unhallowed set. Pose and coloring are exactly creature correct. The brown of the wooden upper arms and legs, the stone of the lower arms, hands, legs, and feet, and the iron torso and head. Pose as you'd expect, standing solidly with one fist raised as a warning not to approach with malice in your heart. Really nicely done miniature from WotC. Score: Paint 17, Pose 18, Playability 22, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 77. "11 years later, we get WizKid's interpretation of the Shield Guardian in 2018's Waterdeep Dragon Heist set, and honestly, it's a step or two back from the WotC version. It's basically just gray in color, with only a hint of brown where the legs attach to the hip. Physically smaller than the WotC version as well, to me, Pose is more bully than Guardian, with its chest stuck out and head held high. Nice touch of adding a spike to the head, though. Score: Paint 14, Pose 12, Playability 16, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 55. And that's it. We're done for now. We'll pick up next time starting with the H's, as in homunculus. Thank you as always for watching Eye of the Beholder. Comment below if you like. I'll see you soon.